So today is October 12th, 2015, and it's my monthly free branding clinic. And today we're going to talk about the power of imagery. And as my guests today, I've got a couple of spectacular Danish photographers, Nunan and Doris Beltoft. Did I say that right, Doris?
Yes.
And it's one of those things that I find all the years I did design that people often overlook the power of images. And I think we're all familiar with the idea that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I went on Wikipedia to see who said that. And no one seems to know. There's different people that claim it. But this is what Wikipedia said. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Refers to the notion that a complex idea can be conveyed with just a single image, or that an image of a subject conveys its meaning, essence, more effectively than description does. And I think there's a way that images can speak really quickly to our unconscious. It's like we can make a lot of impact with an image much quicker and create a feeling much quicker than you can with words. And there's a great opportunity there if you're in business for yourself or creating something to use images for your benefit. I opened up a few websites to show you guys. And there's Libby. Libby, you just missed my little spiel about an image is worth 1,000 words.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sure it was amazing.
Anyway, nice to see you. So I'm going to just show a few websites, and so you can see the difference that the images make. You know, some websites use images more powerfully than others. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Why is it not? Sorry, let's see here. Oh, here we go. All right. It was giving me these weird choices of what to share. So here's the homepage of the Apple website. And Apple does a really great job of always using very high quality images. Like that's a little odd, but they have these impeccable images of all their products. And you recognize like the simplicity of how they use their images. It's very classic, and even if the Apple logo wasn't there, you would recognize that it was Apple because of the look and feel. Like they do branding really well. So then, now here's REI, which is in the U.S. is a kind of a adventure store, and I like the feeling of this homepage. Like you get that they didn't leave the clothing out. Like it's all about selling product, but they give you that feeling of what they're really up to is helping you experience the outdoors. And then this is Restoration Hardware. It's a US-based home goods store. And I happen to know somebody who's kind of used to be quite famous photographer that now does all their photography. And he's really impeccable in how he works, but you can see that these images are all just really simple, beautifully lit. I don't know if you guys can see that, but for home objects, it's just very nicely done. And then in contrast, I wanted to show you like Target is a big brand in the US, and it's known for bringing in these famous designers and having really cool objects, but then you go to their website and it's like, I don't even know what to click on first. There's so much going on. And that goes beyond the images, but it's just such a mashup of stuff. And it's surprising because they also are really good at branding that it's this bad. But it is. So then I also just wanted to go really just briefly into the idea of when you're working with images, like I picked the concept of love and how do we show the concept of love? And I just pulled up some different stock images on istock.com. So here's one that's actually an illustration. And to me, the feeling of this is more abstract. Like I don't get a sense, it doesn't create a feeling for me of, as a viewer, in a meaningful way. And then this is a little different, you know, a couple leaping, somebody's drowned these hearts sort of with light. Like that has a very different feeling of love. Or this is a really common image these days of people doing this thing with their hands to express love. It has a really different feeling, a little more personal, versus like something like this. There's a whole different quality of love. There's a quiet and this feeling of connection. Anyway, those are what I decided to pull out, and just to get the conversation started about, like, if there's a concept you want to express, there's so many different ways it can look visually, but to step back and notice, like, what's the different feeling in the different images. And it's part of the reason I wanted to have Chris and Doris on the call is they, many of you are in the Three Principles community, as I am, and they are, and they really understand the impact of creating feeling in images. It's a big message in the Three Principle community of the feeling behind things. And I feel like Doris and Chris do this so beautifully in their photography. And I think that the way I found you guys was I was seeing Chris's photos on Facebook and was so struck by them. Like I would be looking at all that, you know, the news feed can be quite a lot of junk. And then there'd be this very quiet, beautiful photo that would give me pause. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves and show us some of their work and talk about it. You guys ready to go?
Doris?
Okay, well, I'm a journalist, photographer, coach, sort of a bit of everything. But I used to work for many years as a journalist, as a sub-editor on the biggest newspaper in Denmark, doing the arts and literature supplement. So I've been working with other people's photographs actually for quite a while before I even started taking pictures myself. And I always loved pictures, and I loved sort of making the pictures look good on the pages. And I often had photographers coming up and saying, thanks for treating our pictures so well, because you can cut them badly and you can sort of do all sort of things with them. But it was really important for me to present them well. And I didn't know then that I was ever really going to take pictures myself. Everything basically, I think, in my life is sort of happening well. I've never been into making goals and theme. It happens sort of by chance. and when I started on becoming a journalist, what I really wanted to be first was a photographer. And then I couldn't find, there wasn't any training the way I wanted to be a photographer, a newspaper photographer, not an advertising photographer. And there was something wrong with, I couldn't get into, find out where I could become that. And I talked to somebody on the phone, and they said, well, this is school for journalism. And it just sort of clicked in my head and says, oh, well, that might be interesting. can't you send me a form? And they did, and that's how I became a journalist. And I forgot all about the photography really until many, many years later. Chris was really into taking pictures, and he likes equipment and all the technical stuff. And he bought himself a new camera, and he gave me his old one. And I thought, oh well, and I started taking pictures. so that's sort of how it came to be.
And the same with iPhone.
But it sounded like you were working. It sounded like you were kind of a photo editor at that place you were working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then somehow, between being given that camera and now, you just happened to take these stunning photographs.
Yes. Well.
Well,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah. Well, I really didn't start taking pictures. Really, photography came to me after I was ill in 2009, and I had this near-death experience and stuff. I came home from hospital, and I looked out in our garden, and I suddenly noticed all the birds. It was like, wow, why haven't I seen this before? Well, that kicked it off. So I just went crazy with a camera, and which means I carry it with me always, almost. And I just like going out and taking pictures. And the funny thing about Doris is, if she's a brilliant photographer, and I've kind of, you know, sneaked a little bit. What's she doing? Because what she does is, I think it's an ability to see things as they are, without too many filters. We're just being present in what's going on, and that happens for me also. So
And you guys often shoot together, don't you? You go out.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And that's fun because we'll walk the same road or be in the same forest, and we'll come back with very different images. Yeah. But it's fun because that's a really good pastime, and it's also nice to get to use the pictures. And
Yeah.
And there's a lot more projects. We're going into film now and stuff, but that's another story.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing.
Yeah.
I mean, today, Chris, I was looking at your website, and I didn't quite realize the depth of your background. Like, Chris is a coach, and sounds like you're also a therapist, and you've trained in a wide variety of things, from EFT to voice dialogue and Qigong. And Doris, I don't know.
Both have.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was curious if Doris was similar.
Yeah,
That's the same. Yeah.
And to have been, to me, when people do that much, development around that kind of inner work, it changes you at a deep level. And then to then see how it's affecting your seeing. For me, when I look at your photographs, I get a sense of how you see, what you're noticing.
Mm.
I think that for me, I've always been seeing that way, but the pictures has helped me communicate that to other people. Earlier, I often found myself saying to people, "Oh, look at this sort of thing," and people would say, "What? It's just a duck," sort of thing. Use that as a joke. And it was clear to me that they didn't see the same thing that I did. They had a sort of a concept of, well, this is something nice or beautiful, and this isn't, and this is just a bird, or this is just and I saw something magic. And I find that when I take pictures, I can have people say, "Oh, you know, then they sort of see the wonder. They notice it.
Yeah.
And that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you guys have some images to share?
Yeah, we've got some images to share
And talk about your...
Yeah, this we'll take some of my images, and after that, some of Doris's images. This is from the other day. I was in a park, and luckily, you know, sometimes the sun just lights up an object from and I thought it was so wonderful. Wow, it's such a privilege to be right there at this particular time, and the light just gives you this, gave me this beautiful green.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and for me, that's I know people really like it, and so do I. And I can't really say anything. It's just what you see in the moment. It was not, and my technique is not a technique really. Of course, I know something about photography, but it's more like trying to meditate or just be present. And the same with this one. It's the swan and the little lake just close to where we live. And it's really, and it's also, for this image is also a composition, I think. It's kind of like the diagonal going down. So of course there is some composition in it, but I also like it. It's kind of the green and the white and a little bit of orange. So I think that's a stunning picture too.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just, I don't really experience it as I'm going out to take pictures of swans. It's more like, well, I'm going out and then things, you know, happen. Like this dragonfly, same place, little bit different light. And the lighting and the background was like kind of Monet painter.
Yeah.
Impressionistic feeling to it, and I was so happy
it's like a painting.
my new lens could catch it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm always amazed with both of you, how you, because this is close up. This is a small bug, like that you've got, and it's moving. That you actually got it in focus.
Yeah, but that's really, you know, and there would be about 200 other shots that won't. with this kind of
just to put it in perspective, when people think, oh, you're just out taking a snapshot, it's
oh, this is 2 hours work at least, and editing afterwards, and you know,
yeah,
it's not like I catch this in nature.
And you're not just running out there with your phone.
It's very difficult to take this picture because you can't do it on autofocus, so you have to do it manually.
Yeah.
Which means you have to have an intuition and just try.
Yeah.
And notice what the.
And here comes the bug. How do you keep it in focus?
Yeah.
It's flying towards you. I understand how hard that is.
Next one is the just after the rain in the garden. And okay, I've been using a flash in this one.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
But it also got all the droplets, kind of this stunning feeling of, you know. And for me, that's like, well, I don't use flash that much, but here it was okay. Just to give you this feeling. Usually it'll be the natural light that, you know, you haven't, and what I find fascinating sometimes, if you go through some wood, or you'll have beams of light coming in.
Yeah.
And like this one, where it's just lighting up a little area with some colors. And I think that's like what happens. This one was in the morning, actually, the early sunlight, and I just love this snail. I don't really think I'd really looked at snails before. I really find them very fascinating.
Well, and I love some of the things I love about this photo is you can see where it's come from, like it's left a trail.
Yeah.
And that's a concept that has come up recently in some conversations I've had with people about it's sort of like where you've come from, you can see it. There's evidence of the movement. And that like this beautiful visualization of that.
And that's also because very often with the light is, this is because it's a little bit moist, and you can see it more clearly. So this was the other night, blood moon.
Wow.
Yeah, but I like it because you can see the images of the stars also. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
And the next one is in 33 years. Yeah.
If we're lucky, we'll still be alive.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I don't think I will be. But anyway,
maybe
if we are.
Let us know if medicine's changing fast enough that we're all just going to live to 100.
I'll just give you a few more, and then we'll go over to Doris's pictures. We don't have all that time.
No,
just as a fun one, because Doris actually got me up at 4 in the morning. This was in the summertime, and we went down to the beach, and there's this bridge out in the water, and I caught this young woman walking right into the light, and I thought it was really fascinating. And luckily, Doris, she said, we'll go down there and take pictures, and I was so happy.
Can I sorry to interrupt, but I just for the other folks, do you get the feeling in this photo? There's such a strong feeling.
Yeah, certainly, and people have been buying this photo. Yeah, and this one is from last Friday. The schools were having a run before holidays here. And these young ladies were certainly not very, running around and not really having the proper footwear.
That's a funny photo.
It is, and I got the comment on it from someone that there was like there's a whole story here.
Yeah, like I want to know what's going on with the person on the right. Like I can't even tell if the shoes are on.
Yeah. So it was like sometimes it's a good picture is a picture that tells a story.
Yeah.
I don't know, but for me that was it's kind of makes you think. Yeah. Okay. This is from the other day. I like this kind of magic atmosphere of fairy tale, and of course the snail again, water droplets.
You don't have to go fast. We have plenty of time.
Oh, do we?
Oh,
okay.
yeah, sure.
Okay, water droplets. This is really fun because if you know about the yin and yang, the yin being the dark side and the yang being the light side, cold and warm. You have this in this image, the light side here, and it's kind of melting, and dark. Yeah, I just find it fascinating. Just powers of nature.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you're capturing something that I think most of us take for granted, like just a little bit of water on a leaf.
And the thing is that all of this stuff is, most of it's just taken outside, close to where I live, where we live. It's not really, it's just what's going on all the time. If you're kind of noticing what's going on, you start noticing if you kind of go out into it and without having too many ideas about what you want to see.
But there's some way, I think, with photography, say just sharing this particular image, you're giving people an experience through the image of being in that moment, of that quiet moment, like, wow, the beauty of that, just what some would call the mundane. Like, here it is, and it's so beautiful.
Thank you. I think that's what I hope it does. And it's really very important that it does not need to be anything exotic.
Yeah.
I think very often when we see imagery that's supposed to be show us something about nature, it'll be, the images will be like holiday brochures, or they won't really give. For me, my purpose here is showing the ordinary in a way, extraordinary in the ordinariness.
Yeah, and then it has quite a lot of impact.
I think that's how I see things anyway.
Yeah. No, but it's beautiful.
This one I think looks like a hammock.
A hammock for spiders.
There's no spiders here right now, but it's fascinating what you can see in nature, and I love this one too. That's from last winter, and that's just snow crystals, ice crystals on a leaf. And I've been working here on some of the images having a very strong, very much bokeh. Bokeh is that you can see the object, but you can't see. It's kind of it kind of blurs behind the object.
And that's often the way we take in the world, through our eyes. Like we're looking at something.
Yeah.
And we're
So I like this one. That's more simple, more graphic in a way, graphical expression. I don't know if that's the right word in English.
Yeah.
No, it is. Okay.
Close enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, one of my personal favorites. This is not an image that you get to take very often. It's really something, I think.
Well, and the clarity of focus is extraordinary for something so small. I know how small that is.
But also just to be so lucky that this presents itself. I love this one.
Yeah.
And of course, also the red, the complementary colors.
Yeah.
Red, green. And I think this could be used as a theme, as a, are you getting stuck or want to go to the next step, or you could put some kind of text to it, whatever. I think it could be used that way.
Absolutely.
And that's also another part of using images can also go together with text.
Oh, absolutely.
But more Doris's.
But it can support the message. Like if that said, "Are you getting stuck?"
Yeah.
It directs the feeling along with the image.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on what, but I just love these colors. I certainly do love colors, so that's another part of this. And this one is one I've had a lot of praise of, thousands of likes all over the place, and that's taken on December, the 12th of December. I think it was a couple of years ago. And I just looked over behind me, and we were out walking, and there was this very nice light, and I saw these birds and the silhouette, and just wow. So I was just things like this happen. Yeah. And I was happy to catch this this golden winter light.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, and it has a whole different feeling from some of the others.
Yeah, and this is the same with the colors. And again, ordinary dirt and water and some leaves, and it's quite like a painting.
Very much so.
Okay.
And at the same time, for me, I look at something like this, and it has a very sensual quality. Like it reminds me of what mud actually feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever walked around barefoot in the mud?
Yeah. And just watch kids, going out into the mud. They'll find the best place to, step up and down and have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll let Doris take the next part here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is taken in Greece. It's really just some steps, but I really like the pattern of the light and the shadows.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's such a feeling of quiet.
This is just like you can see a boat, a rowing boat, and the sky is reflecting on it. To me, it's very sort of dream-like. I very rarely arrange anything in my photographs. I take what's there. This was exactly like that, and I don't do a lot of photoshopping or anything afterwards either.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the boat's full of water, right?
Yes, yes. And this one I really like, also because it's difficult to see how how it got to be like that. Outside our front door, we have a little sort of piece of glass that goes out that can keep you dry when you're standing there. And I just noticed one day in the autumn that there were leaves lying on top. So I'm just taking the photograph up through the glass.
Oh.
And it's right outside our front door. But it creates a very interesting effect.
Yeah, because for me, it's like I didn't know what I was actually looking at.
Yeah.
How is it suspended like that? Yeah.
Yeah. This is also just taken quite near to where we live on a winter's day.
It looks very much like a painting.
Yeah, it does. It does. But it isn't, and it isn't. I haven't really done anything special to it.
Yeah.
Just
I think actually the settings in this, the camera settings are wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Which means the whole image is blown out of, blown out highlights.
Yeah.
Right.
But it makes it look like a Japanese masterpiece.
Yeah. Absolutely. It does.
That happens to me
It
quite
totally does. Like, I think there's lots of happy accidents.
Yeah,
when
I'm
you're
not very
creative.
technical, so I just try, I just experiment and try. And sometimes Chris have taken photographs that haven't come out as he intended them to, and he's just about to throw them away. I said, no, don't do that. It's great, And he looked at it again and says, really? Ah, yeah, maybe. Because it's all what you expect to see, and sometimes something totally different comes out of it than you intended, but that doesn't mean that it's not great. It's just
But do the other people here? Do you see do you get a sense of the feeling this creates? Like there's a feeling of such quiet and beauty.
And this I really like.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it's moving its head just a little bit.
I like the pattern again from the rail that's reflecting the shadow. Makes a makes a pattern.
Yeah.
And this I really like as well. That's upside down, I think. Chris.
Well,
it doesn't matter. But that was like that. I was just walking in the wood, and I saw that. It's not something I've sort of arranged either. It was just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of sort of something magic, like an angel had passed or something like that. And
Well, it's so the feather is so pristine in the middle of these leaves. Yeah.
That's one of our cats.
Quite a look.
And this is a bench just outside where we live, and the light falling on it.
The color is so beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
What is that?
It is a rose petal
Oh,
and another leaf falling down. It was sort of, I titled it The End of Summer. I took it the other day, just also outside our house. We have a wooden sort of porch thing that's black, and it had been raining, and these leaves and petals fallen down.
oh, and so they're on a bench or something.
No, they're on a porch and wooden.
Yeah, a wooden veranda.
A wooden something, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it almost looks like oil or.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, that's because it's wet, because it's been raining.
Huh.
And this one I like as well, because you often have photographs of roses, and that's a very sort of traditional and classic thing. But what I really like about this one is this little tiny flower that you can see, the little white one. That's an elder flower that has fallen down on the rose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought that was very sort of, to me, that gives a very poetic feeling.
Yeah. And also that it's wet.
Yes.
You know, the part of it is the water and the glistening of the water.
I thought he was wonderful. That was the day before yesterday. I was in the garden and he was really close, and I heard this sound, and I thought it didn't sound like a cat. And I turned around and he was looking at me like, hello. And I had the camera, so I just grabbed it and took it.
I like that. It looks like the bird is really listening or looking.
Yeah.
Well, Doris speaks to animals, and she's made me do it too.
This one I like as well. And that's sort of this poetry feeling again. The leaves falling into the water, and then the tree. You can see the mirror effect of
It's amazing the water is so still.
Yes.
That the reflection is so clear. Wow.
This one I really like as well. I think it's like, would you call that, not crochet, but when you have these white they used to make before, lace.
Like lace.
Yeah.
Lace, yes.
It's almost like lace, but it's just a leaf that's withered and worn through, but it makes it comes out a bit like lace.
Mm-hmm. Makes me wonder if that's where the idea for lace came from.
Yes.
Huh.
I very often think when I'm out in nature that doing patterns or doing things with textiles, I mean, you can just start copying, because there's so much, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful.
This is reflections again. I have a thing about light and reflections that I really like. This is a bridge that's in London, actually. That's Regent's Canal, where we often walk when we're over there. That's really nice. But
Wow. So that's the underneath of the bridge. You're looking up at the reflection of the light from the water.
And this is just raindrops and straws, nothing, but it looks like, I mean, diamonds, or I don't know. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's amazing. Wow. And so what are you seeing in that drop? It looks like there's a whole world in that drop.
Yeah. That's the amazing thing about drops. You actually get a picture in them, because they reflect. And like that is also just taken outside the door. So a lot of my pictures are really taken in maybe 200 meters around the house, not a very large area. Yes, and I think that's the last one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. That was amazing journey.
Thank you. It's just to give how do you do this? I don't know, but that's what we found these images and thought there might be some inspiration, or just giving you all an idea of start noticing maybe stuff in a different way. I think that's, and I think if you want some impact with your images or using them professionally, it's also trying to find something that's a little bit different than your usual iStock image.
Yeah.
Which, because iStock and similar sites, that you'll have of course it'll very much be the same kind of taste or the same kind of. Yeah, so you end up having a website that looks like everyone else's.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think
and it looks like stock photography.
Yeah, of course it does, because it meets the criteria for stock photography, which is that it has to be sharp. It'll usually be very saturated. There'll be no noise in the picture and stuff like it. It's kind of like the standard criteria for stock photography. But that's not really very artistic.
Yeah.
That's more
it's
like.
why I wanted to show the stock photography before we saw both of your photographs, because there's such the quality and the experience of the viewer is so different, I think.
Yeah, it's a different genre, really. What I think we're trying to do is we're trying to convey some feelings or a certain way of looking at the world. That's maybe that just we call it this is not an image, or this is not a concept. We're trying to get outside of our own thought limitation in a way.
Yeah.
Trying to see
the beauty. I think the kind of
see if you don't really if you don't use your attention, what you see is. Is your own concept, your own thinking, and not really what's going on.
Yeah.
I think it may sound a bit cheesy, but I really think that it's about not just paying attention with your eyes, but paying attention with your heart.
I like that. Well, I think the way that both of you capture the beauty and the ordinary, just this incredible beauty. I don't even quite have the words for it, but I just feel the impact it has on me to just see a bunch of your images. And part of the reason I like to have this conversation about imagery is a lot of the people on the call today are practitioners, that when you're starting to communicate that using images like those are going to have a different kind of impact than, say, a standard stock photo. Like, as you're communicating about your business, if you incorporate things that have a greater impact on the experience of the viewer, it's an opportunity in using images. And I've been working on a website using some of your images, and it's just been really fun.
Okay, this is just to end this. If you can actually see here. I think you can see that. Are you getting a chat message?
No.
No. Well, it isn't working. I'll send it afterwards.
A link to your website?
Yeah, we thought this time we'll just send a link to our Flikr websites.
Oh, okay.
Both of them. Because we're building a website together with images, and we're not quite finished with doing it. So it's a bigger work than we thought.
Oh, it is. so for whoever here's on the call or is watching the recording, Doris and Chris sell their photographs for use, which I highly recommend purchasing them. Whenever you're ready, I'd love to know.
Okay, well, I'll send you the link and you can give it to people, whatever.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you guys for listening.
Does anybody have questions for them? Any questions?
Just an observation, really. You could spend a lot of time trying to put into words what will people get from an exploration of the principles, but there's so much not said but said in those pictures. You know, we can go searching after this, that and the other, and it was on our doorstep all the time. You know, that when we go still, we start to see the intricacy and the beauty of the ordinary. There's just a real feel of the outcome of an understanding of the principles in those pictures that you wouldn't have to spell out, but it's just kind of infused in them, isn't it? I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And I agree with that, Libby. It's they're and we're using them on my. I don't know about Libby's website, but my website.
Well, I didn't want to say
Several.
we were comfortable with
Well, the whole website actually. And I've had a really lovely time. They're delicious. And thank you. I hope I didn't interrupt you, Libby.
No.
Okay. You can say so very much with the photographs, and it's not necessarily a verbal understanding because it's visual, and yet they're really delicious. But the words that came to mind just a few minutes ago, some of them were just like there is truth everywhere, there's beauty everywhere, you know, and it's just getting calibrated to what a magnificent world we live in. Just waiting for us to find it. Seems very congruent with the principles to me. And I appreciate it. And Sandra brought me to your websites or your Flickrs or whatever. I always lose them. I lose them periodically, but you know, the reference. But then I get mixed up about images, and I think I had some Facebook stuff with you, Chris, but not Doris. I think mostly I'm using Doris's photos. We'll find out whose is who.
Well, I hope you will.
When we get finished.
Well, they're beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's beautiful. They're all beautiful. I mean, there's so many beauties. And that bench that you showed with the turquoise, the teal color is, I love. We're not using that yet, at least, but maybe there'll be something later.
So I hope you got a good deal, Doris.
I hope so. I feel fortunate. How about that? This is my cat, Giovanni, who keeps replacing himself, you know, here and there.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the thing is, you can imagine, or at least I can imagine, I'm pretty visual, the impact a website using Doris and Chris's images would have versus one using classic stock of, you know, people jumping in the air or whatever. The feeling is going to be really different. And even though the viewer might not be thinking about that, their experience of being on your website or whatever they're viewing, I just use a website because everybody's got one these days. Whatever they're viewing, their experience is going to be different. It's going to speak to a different part of them, whether they're aware of it or not. Like, I think that's the power of imagery, is it goes in pretty deep beyond words.
Yeah.
And it so quickly creates a feeling.
It's so interesting, very beautiful what you all are saying. And I used to think I had to go to the Himalayas to take good pictures. And now it's it's, you know, 10 meters outside my own front door.
Yeah.
And, so that was the shift for me. Doris has always been seeing it like that, but for me, it was like, wow, how on earth did I miss it? So that's, yeah.
I just love hearing about your journey, both of you as photographers, and what you see and seeing your new photos. It's a real treat.
Thank you.
It is.
So, shall we wrap it up? Is it any more questions?
Well, you guys can go if you need to go, but the call goes
Do we?
to the top of the hour.
Okay.
It's fine if you need to go.
I don't know. I'll just go out and take some water. Doris is here.
Okay.
Good.
So, I don't know. For me, that was a real treat. And for years before I became a coach, I did a lot of creative direction and worked with a lot of photographers. And for me, there's a way, even though Doris and Chris say they're not trained, like their capacity of seeing, like of actually seeing, is extraordinary.
Thank you.
So I felt really honored that you guys were willing to join the call.
Oh, it's interesting. Nice to hear the comments. Yeah.
Is there anything more you'd want to add, Doris?
No, it's been very interesting for me to hear the comments, and I'm very glad that you see it that way, because that's the way I feel it as well. It's all about feeling, really, and it's really nice to hear that it comes across that way as well. Yeah, so that's good. I find that I can go out just about any time, and there's something amazing.
Yeah.
It's just there, and I think that what I'd like my pictures to do is to maybe make people more aware of that, to just sort of see what's there.
Well, for me, looking at your photos, especially the ones that are very close up, it calls forth this feeling of really being present. It's the moment that you see, that you notice the water glistening on this tiny leaf. And so for me, looking at the images like that both of you have shot, it takes me back to remembering what that's like. And then I'm more in the moment myself. That's sort of my inner process around those sorts of images, and why I think they're so powerful. Because what else is there really than to be fully present in whatever you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people forget. They forget that it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's quite simply there all the time.
Any other thoughts or comments? We have a few minutes left.
Well, it seems to me, this is what came to me, and it seems to me that a photograph is a link to big mind, basically. It's a non-verbal, it's non-verbal. So there's lots of meaning. It's not articulated meaning.
And by big mind, you mean sort of a connection to something greater.
Yeah, something greater, something that is part of what we sometimes call universal mind. I don't know about that, if that really is what it is, but there are all sorts of ways, it seems to me, that we know things about the world really before, probably, but mostly before we had any kind of language. you know, as beings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of that's part of where I think the impact comes from. Because it
Well,
does,
certainly in Doris and Chris's photos, for sure.
Well,
I wouldn't
yeah.
say all photographers.
well, but it also, you know, if it's well, it has a link to quiet.
Yeah.
They're linked. They're quiet photos, visual images. To me, they're not. You know, I love the dragonfly, especially today. That was a new one for me. I love that, and to be able to capture that. I have a lot of dragonflies in my backyard, and to be able to capture one with that kind of clarity is astounding. Because
They move fast. They move really fast. Like when I see that, I'm like, that's a kind of a miracle. That photo.
But you know, you've seen Karate Kid, haven't you? With the chopstick.
No,
Catching the fly.
I can imagine.
It's really for me that the thing was that they do move in patterns. So you notice that when they're coming up, and they'll come back to the same point.
Oh.
They will, yeah. I sat there.
You know, I have actually
there
seen
for
that
a long time, and I noticed where that point was. That's how I did it.
Got it.
Wow.
Yeah, I have some tall things in my pond that they like to sit on the top of. They like that, just the very top. Well,
And you'll see them speeding around, but they'll come back to the same point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But you have to say they're long enough to notice.
Yes, well.
So that was what happened. And I just, you know, yeah.
Anyway, amazing.
Yeah. Thank you all very much.
We're at the top of the hour, and I just want to thank everybody for coming, and especially Doris and Chris for showing your photographs. It was really
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doris.
And Sandra and I'll be in touch.
Thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
Thank
good
you.
to see you all. Thanks so much.
Nice
And I'll
seeing
post a
you.
recording. I'll send you guys on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.